Hi there, welcome to the Master Python with Practice Questions series where we learn by doing. So let's embark on question 2, which says that your university has tasked you to automate a simple grading system. As a Python student, write a program using functions and conditions to display the grades that the students will be receiving. So the grades are between 90 to 100, the mark will be graded as an A. Then between 80 to 89, the mark will be graded as a B. And between 70 to 79, that will be a C. And between 60 to 69, it will be a D. And between 50 to 59, the grade will be an E. And any mark scored below 50, it will be graded as a failure. So we are being told to work with functions and conditions. So the first thing we are going to do is to go ahead and create our function. So we can name the function name as calculate grades, calculate grade, or calculate grades, as long as the name is relevant to what we are trying to do. So write a program using functions and conditions to display the grades that the student will be receiving. Okay, so for now, the way we are going to work with this program, we are going to be capturing the marks scored by a particular student from the keyboard. So for us to be able to work with this, we can go ahead and add a comment that says capture student mark, and we shall go ahead and define a variable that is going to store the mark that the student will be providing. So mark will be, so we know that we work with the input function, and we shall go ahead and prompt the student to enter their mark that they had scored. So enter mark scored. We shall work with the escape sequence where we shall add \t such that when the student enters a mark, we can leave some space. So we know that any input that comes from the keyboard is always of type string, so we have to go ahead and cast. So we are using the int constructor such that it converts the student mark from type string to int, because you can see that the ranges that are being provided are of type int. So having we defined this variable, we are now going to work with conditions. So the way we work with conditions differs. So for now, if we are being given a range, we can work with conditions in a way that we are testing using the if condition. So we can say testing student mark. So catering for the first range, any mark scored between 90 to 100 will be graded as an A. So we check if the mark that we are capturing from the keyboard, if mark, so a range between 90 to 100 works in a way that if the mark is greater or equal to 90, since this is the first range part, 90, and this mark should be less than or equal to 100 for the first range. So we see that if this condition is true, whereby the mark is greater or equal to 90 and the mark is less than or equal to 100, we must return. So we are going to be printing print grade is A. So we shall just copy this string literal and paste it here. Grade is A. Then we continue, move out of this if condition block. Now to cater for the second range, we can see that we have a condition whereby if a mark is scored between 80 to 89, then that will be graded as a B. So we can work with the the else if part. So else if our mark is greater or equal to, so we need to add the equal signs because we can see that 80 is part of the range. So it should be mark greater or equal to 80, and the mark is less than or equal to 89. So 89 is part of the range. So if this is true for both conditions, we shall go ahead and print an output that says grade is B. So this is going to be the same case for the third range or condition. So else if, so between 70 to 79 the grade is C. So we shall just rename this 70 and less than or equal to 79. Then we shall go ahead and print grade is C. So I'll copy and paste the same condition here and update the indentation. So for the fourth condition, we see that between 60 and 69, whereby both values are inclusive, the grade is B. So that should be greater or equal to 60 but less than or equal to 69. And cases whereby both the conditions are true, meaning that the mark provided must be greater or equal to 60 and it should be less than or equal to 69. So the score or the mark will be graded as a D. So I will also cater for the other condition for the range of 50 to 59. So this should be greater or equal to 59, but it must be less than or equal to 59. And we can see that all values are inclusive. That is why I'm adding the equal sign for each condition. So the print statement for this will be grade is E and else. So for the last condition whereby the mark is below 50, so we can see that it has been stated that the mark is less than 50, but 50 is not inclusive because we can see that the inclusive part of 50 has been catered for here. So for us to work with the else part, we can just say else. Else we print the grade is, so we can just update this to what has been provided, fail. So this will be a failure, and we can organize our code. We can try to leave some space after each statement for the print. Okay, so now having we worked on this, we have to go ahead and test our application with different data. So the first thing we know is that we always have to call the function, and we always make sure that for us to call the function in a way that it performs the task of grading the student marks, we have to make sure that it is out of the function definition. Because if I minimize this, I am confirming that I'm out of the function definition. So I'll call the function by typing its name, calculate grades, and I add the parentheses. And we can see that for this case, I'm working with the function in a way that I'm not passing in any parameters. So I'll go ahead and run the application or the file. So it says enter mark scored. If I scored a 90, so grade is A, and this is true for the first condition that we had. Anything between a 90 and 100 is grade A. So maybe to customize this a little bit better, we can go ahead and add something here in a way that whenever we run the application, we let our user know that the program is about calculating of student grades. So we can say student grades calculations. So when we run our application, I'll first of all clear. Then also I can first of all try to add \n such that it prints all this on a new line. Okay, so student grade calculations. Anyway, anything that suits you can always work. So enter marks scored. So if I scored an 80 this time, grade is B, and that is true. And if we run the application once again for a different student mark, assuming that maybe someone scored a 40, so you can see that it returns fail. Okay, so don't always forget to comment your code, but for now we are keeping it simple because the question was more precise. Alright, so I hope this was insightful. Thank you for watching, and see you again in the next session.